The bit of music, and Dr. Randall Johnson and Angelina Pangelinan are here from the University of Guam. Singers. Is that still what it was? When I was going to UOG, it was still the UOG Singers, and it was widely respected.
Still the same name. Okay. We haven't changed it since you left.
Okay, a few things have changed. You know, the A and B building where I used to go now, no longer there.
Those were finally properly disposed of.
Yeah, I'm jealous as an alumni, but happy for the students that go there now. All right, but you guys continue the tradition of celebrating and creating fantastic music, and that's why we're talking tonight. So you guys have a festival coming up. Tell me about that.
Well, festival is actually kind of unique because the university is co-sponsoring it, but it's put on by an organization called Festa Musical, and they put on festivals in about 12 countries already. Angie sang at 2 of those festivals, one in Czech Republic and one in Thailand. And the owner of the company was intrigued enough about the island and about the choir. The Guam choir people are quite personable, so that they decided to organize a festival here. Mm-hmm. So next week we've got a couple of choirs coming in from Korea. We have several local choirs and a choir coming in from the Philippines for the first annual Guam Pacific Music Festival.
So this is the one that kicks it all off.
Yes,
history starts this year.
It's this year, and although just those countries represented, just Korea and the Philippines, is relatively small, but we've already got a group signed up for next year coming in from Singapore. Mm-hmm. So they're already accepting applications, and hopefully it'll get larger. It should be great fun.
Now, of course, Doctor, you know this better than anybody probably on the island, that music is the universal language, and yet the distinct differences we have between styles and approaches and things like harmony can be very different and appreciated by different cultures and everything. So what does the Guam contingent necessarily bring to the table in addition to the other participating nations?
Well, it's our style that we're doing, that we've been focused on for the last 3 years anyway, is just all acapella, pop, and jazz. So it's a new style that you would hear, some groups like Impact and Real Group from Sweden. They do this really interesting thing. We're doing, as vocal percussion. We're using mics, so the bass goes real low. It's all down to low C's and things, and it's all very rhythmic, and the chords are very difficult and dense. So and it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are some of the challenges of presenting music in this fashion? Because there's a movement now on Guam, especially with really talented performers like Shanna McManus and Santino Scambaluri. I mean, they're really bringing a whole new element of jazz to young people especially. But that kind of music, I mean, it's so predicated on improvisation and just like going with your feeling in the moment and everything. So what are some of the challenges?
Well, I think the type of people that we have here, the younger generation, they're not really familiar with our style of singing. Mm-hmm. And so basically what we're trying to do is trying to get it to that level where it's interesting and fun for them. So we sing other songs too, like I'm Yours by Jason Mraz, right? And that's pretty familiar with like the generation and
probably
stuff.
The most covered song in the history of music.
Most definitely. But yeah, like Shanna McManus, she's a really, really talented singer, and I just feel like they don't have that much exposure, the younger generation, and I think that's one of the issues that we have to deal with, is just expose them and probably like drag them into what we like doing. Mm-hmm. So
would you say that maybe jazz is kind of like the ultimate destination, as a musician or as a singer? Because I mean, so much of other types of music, I mean, like I grew up playing heavy metal and listening to that kind of music, but there isn't a metal guitarist on the planet who wouldn't say like, I would give one of my fretting fingers and everything, like if I could play jazz, like as well as some of the great jazz musicians.
Well, I had this argument with I have an older brother that's been playing with the Seattle Symphony for a long time. All of my brothers have been musicians or still are musicians. And he's totally into classical music and thinks that's the ultimate. I've known a lot of jazz musicians that, they might work in jazz all day long. They go home, they just want to put on their Mozart. So you can go different directions, and all of them are legitimate. I think that probably most of the rock players that I've known have played in rock bands, the guys my old friends that I've stayed in touch with, end up wanting something with a little bit more flavor than the 4 chords they might have in rock. Or they go to more complicated rock. I mean, you might remember the old group Rush. I mean, they were taking rock to another level. So rock can get really complicated too. It's just at a basic level, rock, has fewer and less dense chords in it than jazz does. So
okay, well, we are going to talk about the other participating countries that are going to be here when we come back from this. Also on Rush, I maybe got through the first 13 seconds of La Via Strangiato before I just gave up, because that's way too complicated. All right, so sit tight, and you out there in TV land, sit tight, because we'll be back, and we're talking music right here on Fiesta Friday.